If you're faced with rising blood sugar numbers and you're looking at what you can do dietarily, one thing that you might be considering is, are organic foods actually worth the extra cash? That's what we're going to talk about today. I'm Dr. Jeff Cumro, and over the past 15 years, I've had the pleasure of working with thousands of people, ultimately helping them boost their brain function, their body function, and then supply the energy to those areas. Because we can have them fully functional. If you don't have the energy, it doesn't work the way that it's supposed to. So let's dive into the topic here. Does organic matter when we're looking at diabetes? And the short answer is yes. And we're going to dive into the why on this. So when we look at organic foods versus non-organic foods, organic foods can still be sprayed by pesticides, and that's something that kind of shocked me, because the whole way that we look at things, the way that we've been marketed to in this is that it doesn't have any pesticides or anything like that. They don't use anything other than natural fertilizers, and that's not completely true. There's something like 90 different types of chemicals that you can use on them. However, they don't use certain types of chemicals on them, and the types of chemicals that they don't use would be the more aggressive herbicides. Things like glyphosate would be the popular one, and a lot of these herbicides work through a different pathway. It's the shikimate pathway, and in that pathway it knocks down the fructose processing bacteria in your gut. The same ones that are present in the plants, or the same type of pathway that's present in the plant is also present in your gut. So it actually kills off some of those fructose processing bacteria in your gut and decreases your ability to handle those. Now, about 2 years ago, I did a presentation for about 400 doctors, and we talked about the implications of fructose and how it is something that could very possibly be contributing to our current epidemics in a lot of areas, whether that be diabetes or obesity or mental health challenges or different things like this, because it affects your whole body. And ultimately, the way that happens is your gut is designed to be able to handle, I think it's 4 grams that it can handle off the top of my head there. Once you exceed that 4 grams, which really doesn't take that much when we look at today's food with all the high fructose corn syrup and different things like that in them. There's a lot of corn in a lot of this stuff, and that is the number one area that we intake that fructose from. So it's easy to exceed that level, and once that's exceeded, it ultimately inflames the gut and it causes it to expand, and different things get through. Now, when that fructose gets into your system, it goes to your liver, and your liver is supposed to be able to process it. But again, your liver can only handle so much. If you exceed the load that your liver can handle, what you do is you put fat around your liver to store that tissue in, to store that fructose in case you need it, or when you have time to deal with it, you'll break it down and get rid of it. Now, many people are suffering with a fatty liver. Many people don't even know that they're suffering with a fatty liver, but it's something that's very, very common in those with diabetes. And it's very, very important to get that addressed, because if you can't detoxify that fructose, you can't detoxify other pathogens as well, other toxins or chemicals. And we're exposed to more chemicals now than ever before. And if you're worried about toxicity to your brain, the number one thing you really need to be worried about is your blood sugar to your brain. If you look at what diabetes does, you get numbness in the hands and feet often, correct? The reason for that is the blood glucose is toxic to nerves. Biggest group of nerves that you have, right up here. That's why it affects the eyes. That's why it affects the feet. That's why it affects the hands. It affects the brain too, but a lot of people don't realize, because it shows up as dementia. It shows up as balance issues. It shows up in all of these different ways that aren't necessarily directly linked to your blood sugar. And once that liver is done processing, it pushes, and your pancreas starts to get inflamed, your gut starts to get more inflamed, it starts to go through your blood vessels, and it starts to get to your heart, which can get inflamed. That goes up to your brain, and it just creates this inflammatory cascade. So one of the things that we can do to improve our blood sugar and to improve our ability to handle this, improve our brain health, improve our fitness, improve all of these other areas, just by taking out these organic or these non-organic foods, these foods that are sprayed with these pesticides that interrupt that fructose processing bacteria in our guts, it can help to bring these things under control. Now, is this a magic cure? Are you going to start doing this and then tomorrow your blood sugar is going to be better? No, it's something you're going to have to keep after for a while. because your body is storing all of that stuff in there. If this is something that you are facing, if this is something that's contributing to your situation, it's going to take you time to process that and get it out of your system. So be patient with this approach. But this approach can work, and can work very well. And it's something that's very, very important, not just for your blood sugar levels, but like I said, it can decrease the inflammation in your system, and that goes into, muscular health. It goes into balance. It goes into brain health. It goes into all these other things. It goes into sleep. And when we start getting some of those other things into line, we start getting better control of our blood sugar. We start getting better brain control. We start getting better immune function. We start getting all of these other things. So it is important. It is one of the biggest foundational things you can do. Switching from inorganic produce to organic is, in my opinion, one of the easiest ways to start making progress in this. But it's not going to be an overnight thing. It's going to take you a little bit of time. Obviously, if you have questions in this, drop them in the comments. I would appreciate it if you like or subscribe. It gives me information that helps me, determine what type of information to share with you. What are you going to find the most beneficial? But as always, I appreciate your attention. I know that that's your most valuable resource, and I appreciate you spending some of that with me. I'll catch you on next week's video.